Okay, so the audio I'm not sure of, but I'm going to go ahead and start on from the link provided in the announcements. It has a partial book, pages, I think there's 16 total pages there. And we'll have the drawings in the assignment page. I'll upload PDFs versions of the files. For this assignment, we're actually going to do 4 single assignments. They're all fairly easy. So I'm going to start with File, New, Novice, double click on Part. And the directions in the book and the link have a specific orientation and origin. And I'm not concerned with the orientation or origin on this part. So I'm going to start, once my part file's open, I'm going to start Sketch, Sketch, and I'll just go ahead and select Front. And I'm going to select up here on the Sketch tab, the Sketch ribbon bar. It's a straight slot. There's a few in the drop-down menu, but I'm just going to select straight slot. I'm not going to select on the part origin. I'll select off the origin. And I'm going to left mouse click and release, and then drag my mouse over and left mouse click again. For the 2 inside center marks for this, it will show as a construction line. But the second click will allow me to get to a third click, which is going to be from my center mark to my radius here on the top or the bottom. Either way, I could go either way. I'm going to select down here, and then I'm going to dimension this off the drawing. This is a radius of 1/2 inch. And the only other thing I need is from arc to arc, using the Smart Dimension tool, off the drawing is 1.25. Now this is fully defined. Oh, it seems to be restricted. Oh no, there it goes. I'm going to make this arc, or this point, and this part origin populated here as coincident. And now it will show down here fully defined, zoom to fit. I'm going to make sure each one of my parts has the author of my name, and the title is double link. Double link. I'm going to go ahead and also now file save as onto my desktop with last name first, double link, save. And from here, in a fully defined sketch, I'm going to select Features, Extrude. And it gives me this, oh, I'm in metric. Oh no. This one's fairly easy to switch out of, but I'm going to exit my extrusion, go back into my drawing here. I should have noticed by this dimensioning. This is kind of when it shows a leading 0, that is an indication that it's a millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to inch pound second. It kicks me out of the sketch. I'm going to go right click. This one should be relatively easy. Let's see if I can go here to 1.25. And then on this one, I'm going to go 0.5. I think any other complex drawing that has more than a couple dimensions would not be that easy. So now I'm back into inch. In a fully defined sketch, I'm going to select from the Features tab, Extrude. And off the drawing shows a part thickness of 750 thousandths. This is one where it's pretty critical to use midplane. So it does take this value and it extrudes it both directions from our sketch plane. We're going to use this default sketch plane for quite a bit of mirroring on this part. I think last week we did a center line or a construction line. I'm going to use that again here. I have now my base sketch and my mid plane extrusion. I'm going to start again, sketch, sketch, and I'll start on this face. I'm going to right click on this sketch populated now in my feature design tree, and I'm going to select normal 2. I'm going to make 2 center lines. I'm going to make one from this point, midpoint, and then I'm going to make another one from this midpoint to here. And I'm not sure how the book does it. I should have glanced, but let's see. I'm going to select the center rectangle. I'm just going to put one like right here. I'm going to put another one right here. And then dimension these. These are, I don't see my sketch relations active, so I'm going to go in and go view, hide show, sketch relations. And there we go. It shows quite a bit. I've got the center lines. I've got this is coincident. This center line is coincident to my part origin. And on a rectangle like this, it has these coincident points for these bisecting lines. And it makes each one of these lines horizontal and vertical automatically. I'm going to smart dimension just one of these lines. And this is going to be off the drawing 300 thousandths. I'll make this line and this line. And escape out of the dimension tool. This line. Hold control down and select this line and make these lines equal in size. I can also dimension this. I can make this a lot longer than I need to. I'm just going to go 1.2. I think that's enough. If I make this line, hold control and make this line equal in size as well. And then, if I make this line, hold control, this line, and populate these 2 horizontal lines and this horizontal construction line and make these, should be able to make them here symmetric. And then if I make this line, this top line, and this top line populated in the property manager as collinear, I'm beginning to restrict this movement. I can't go up and down. They're restricted by the size. The only other thing I think I need to do here is I need to make these 3 lines, which would be this line, and this line. Even though it's a construction line, I can still select it and add it in the property manager. And I'm going to make these symmetric. Now it's not perfectly defined. It's still underdefined. And I believe the only other one maybe I need is a dimension from this line to this line. Oh, I thought I had selected, but let me make sure that is selected correctly. There it is. 0.23 off the drawing. And now I'm fully defined. And if you didn't notice last week, or if I didn't mention it, it does show here down here fully defined, but it shows this endpoint this endpoint and this endpoint of these construction lines, I don't need a line length on these. So it might show a blue endpoint, but it still shows this sketch as fully defined, which is not the case on a standard sketch entity like a line and an arc. It does need to be fully defined. These don't as far as the endpoints, as far as the overall lengths. So this looks pretty good. This is exactly what I was going for. I think the book did it a little different. And I will be asking for feedback through email as well. So on the process online, how it's going, what I can change as we move forward. But from here in a fully defined sketch, I'm in sketch mode again still. I'm going to select features, not extrude, but extrude cut. So I'm going to cut, and it didn't really rotate this to give me a good example, but I'm going to go, let's go through all, and done. And that looks pretty good. That's exactly what I'm going for. I'm going to select again, sketch, sketch. I'm going to select on this face. So now I'm actually active in a sketch. I know sometimes I go kind of quick, it's hard to see. But now you can also just right click on the sketch in the tree manager and select normal 2. And I'm going to select this arc circle function. And I'm going to wake up this arc center. And I do that by just bringing your mouse along the edge of this arc. And now I can select, and we'll make this arc coincident. This arc is on the origin, so that will be coincident to the origin. I didn't necessarily have to wake up by going through with my mouse and making that center mark visible and selectable. So I'm going to open Smart Dimension. Off the drawing, this is 0.325 through. I'm going to make this arc and this arc equal in size. Fully defined here because I have restricted center mark based on the sketch relation, and then the diameter that is off this dimension that's equal to both. In that fully defined sketch, I'll select features, extrude cut, kind of rotate this a little bit. The default says blind 750. I'm just going to make sure, if you're not sure about the size, but you know you're going through, I think through all is the better option. It's also an option if you go back and we change this base, or we end up changing this base extrusion to 800 thousandths. If this cut is through all, it will be through all regardless of our base extrusion size. So that's always a good design option. So from here, that looks good. I'm going to continue with another arc on the same plane. Sketch, sketch, this face. I'll select the circle again and wake this center mark up and make this concentric. This one again I can just select here. And then dimension as 0.5. Dimension as 0.5. I could have made those equal, probably should have. I have 2 fully defined sketch entities here in sketch mode. Select features, extrude cut. There's a blind depth off of the drawing, and it shows a distance of 0.15 with the depth symbol. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. And that actually looks pretty good. Now I noticed when I first did this part, there was a little bit It doesn't like to do a mirror it doesn't do a mirror of two multiple features. And I found that out on this part, and I'll show you what I mean. If I now select, not a new sketch, but if I select from the Features tab, from the drop down where it says Fillet, I'm going to select Chamfer. I'm going to select this edge, and this edge, and this edge, and this edge. And that's 4 edges. I can see only edges are populated here. And off the drawing, there's a linear distance shown. It's 45 degrees of 0.0325 at 45 degrees. So this looks pretty good. This is what the callout is looking for on the chamfer. If I try and mirror both of these entities, I obviously have this through hole on the back side. But if I go in and I select from the Features tab, I'm going to select Mirror. And it asks me to what face or plane am I going to mirror about. It already self-populated my last entity, which was a chamfer. So I'm going to actually take this one, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to add this one and then add the chamfer below it. So I have this cut extrude 3 as my counter bore, and then the chamfer is the last chamfer that I just did. I'm going to try and mirror this off of the default plane, and if you zoom out a little bit, maybe you can figure out, not too hard, that I'm going to mirror off of the front plane. And actually that preview looks really good. So maybe it will work. I'm going to say yes. And it didn't quite work the way I wanted to. We're not sure why this is. There's a little algorithm going on that it can't quite solve. It did this inside chamfer, but not this outside chamfer. And it actually shows down here a little alarm here. So if I go back in, I'm going to right click, edit this feature, and I'm just going to remove, oh, it changed the order here. Let me see if I can go in, and some of these you can delete and then repopulate. And then no, it still doesn't do it. Right click, edit feature. I'm just going to delete that chamfer. And I'm going to say yes. So now it's okay. I think the mirror can only do in this case, it's only mirroring the counter bore, which is cut extrude 3. But I think what I'm going to do, and you can do this either way. I'm not sure exactly again how the book does it, but I'm going to take my chamfer here, and I'm going to move this below. You can see if I drag it, it says move below mirror 1. And I'm going to do that with no issue. So it just reordered that. I'm going to open this back up. And now I'm going to add this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge. I'm going to say yes. And now that single chamfer, I'm using to chamfer all 8 edges. You can have 2 chamfers there. Be careful about how you reorder these things. Sometimes you can actually move this line as well and suppress those features. That's another little design tool that you'll use later. I'm not too worried about the order. I'm not too worried about obviously the orientation or the origin. This part's a little hard for beginners because there are dimensional issues that people might not be familiar with, especially in the views. And this last fillet is one of them. So this looks all good. I'm going to actually, I haven't saved this in a while, so I'm just going to go save. And from here, part looks good. I'm going to select from the Features tab, not the chamfer, but the fillet. And it's asking me here, edges, faces, features, and loops. So you can actually, in this case, select a face, which actually works pretty good on this. And it's not this face, not this front face here, so be really careful about this. It's got to be this top face. And you can see, wow, it really populated that. It did use the 0.032. I don't think I used that anywhere else on this particular drawing. I used it on the chamfer function. So it used that as a default, even though this isn't a chamfer, it's a fillet. And if I'm looking at the preview, I did it on this face, and it does tangent propagation. So any edge connected to this face, it fillets, and then any tangent edge, it continues on, and it wraps all the way around the part on both sides. But if you can see this member right here, this little edge here is chamfered. I'm going to get to it. This edge is chamfered. This edge is also chamfered. But if you look transparent through the part, this edge is not. So I can select through the part, and this edge is not. So that's really key, that those two bottom edges, if you use this one face, I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to show you in the view. Let's look at this view. You can see this inside corner is not filleted where this point is on all four sides here and on the bottom here. So that's a kind of a common mistake. Some of the students will fillet this inside edge, but it is only the outside edge of this face and the inside edge of this face on this edge, and then the top and bottom of this face, and on the back side as well. So this is the double link. I'm going to put this up immediately. I'm going to put up the drawings, and then hopefully later tonight I'll do the other ones, and then I'll be sending out an email shortly. Or I'll be actually not an email, but I'll be populating the assignment tab with all the information to complete this. And we will also I have a Zoom schedule, a Zoom session, which will be an online interactive course using the Zoom software that will be available during our regular class time. And I'll have that up with information in the announcement and an email shortly. Thank you.